Good morning and welcome to Mosaic. I'm Rabbi Eric Weiss and honored to be your host this morning. Throughout the country and indeed throughout the world, communities are asking important questions about how do we care for one another, how do we get to know one another, and how do we form leaders into the next generation. We'd like to invite you into a conversation this morning with some of the ways in which the Jewish community is answering those questions by first inviting you into a conversation with some Israelis who are here from a very special organization that is called Gvanim. Gvanim in Hebrew means hues, H-U-E-S. And I'd like to introduce you to Rabbi Ezra Ende, who is the rabbi of the Free Synagogue of Jerusalem, and Oshra Friedman, who works for an important organization called Sebaka in Israel that is a legal services organization for Ethiopian Israelis. Welcome, Oshra and Rabbi.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Let's just jump right in and ask you, Rabbi, what is Gvanim and what does it do?
So Gvanim means hues, and it brings together people, I would say leaders from different segments of the Israeli society, people that come from the ultra-Orthodox world, the Orthodox world, I'm a Reform rabbi, people that come from a Middle Eastern background, a European background, people from different socio-economical statuses. And we're there in order to work together, in order to create a group that will deepen the pluralistic nature of the Israeli society.
And Oshra, in Israel, when we think of the word pluralism or pluralistic, what does that mean to you as an Israeli in Israeli culture?
For me, as a person, it means to get to know others from the society, to be open-minded and see that there's different people around us, which we don't meet every day, but we usually judge them by the way they look, the way they think, the way they walk, what they are wearing, what kind of language they are speaking with. And at the end of the day, when you get them into the room together and you find out that you have things in common, and might be even differences, but you are open-minded to listen and learn about each other in order to create a better society that we wish our kids to raise in.
And so then, Oshra, what attracted you personally to Gvanim in particular?
When I got to Gvanim, the one thing that I was really actually looking for is to be part of a group that's, at the end of the day, when we create something. I don't know what kind of a thing. But when I got there and I met different people, it's actually opened my eyes how many choices do I have as a person in this world, whether to create something or to be joined to something that is happening, and what can I bring from myself in order to help that group to succeed. And I'm very happy that I got there.
And Rabbi, do you, can you talk a little bit about even some of the differences that you've already noticed in yourself or in the group of people that you've come to meet for yourself in this context?
Sure. First of all, it's really wonderful to me to make new friends. I mean, I have ultra-Orthodox friends. I have, friends from different sides of the Israeli society that I don't encounter every day. And that really, first of all, opens my heart, because I believe that the way to make a change is to meet people on the personal level. And that can really change. It can change my life. It can change the lives of the people around me. It raises my curiosity. And it really empowers me in a way that, I feel I can make a difference. Because it's not only about me, it's about the people that are with me in the group. And I feel that together we can really make a change if we continue these wonderful connections and friendships that we're forming.
How many are you actually in Gvanim?
15, I believe.
Yes.
15.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And can you give us a little bit of a sense of really kind of its structure, what you do during the course of a year, what you do together?
So we meet once a month. And every meeting takes place in a different location.
For a full day. We meet
for a full day, right. And is led by one of the members of the group. So for example, we had a day in Bnei Brak or Jerusalem in, where the ultra-Orthodox community is. We had a day in Jerusalem at the Reform College. And we had a day, you know, in the south of Jerusalem that was led by a member of the group who was very, very active in advancing peripheral people in Israel, people that live in the periphery. So every day is led by a different member of the group and deals with the topics that he or she presents.
So when you say people who live on the periphery, meaning on the margins of Israeli society.
Right.
So as an example, without being sort of, it's always hard to sort of talk about populations and not seem stereotypical, but just for the sake of languaging, sort of what's an example in Israeli society of someone who might be on the periphery?
Well, if we were talking about the geographic periphery, we know that the big cities in Israel are Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and Haifa, and then you have other cities. And then, for example, we have people that live in the south.
So people who live geographically on the outskirts.
Right, that's one periphery. Of course, we have other peripheries.
Yes.
We have a member in the group that is, you know, a representative of the Israeli-Russian community.
Yes.
We have, you know, members that really, you know, represent different people of different colors and shades and tastes. And it's really a privilege to be part of such a group.
Rabbi Ende and Oshra, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back in just a moment here on Mosaic.
This Sunnyvale Shepherd has a nose for trouble.
You can detect 14 different odors, burnt and unburnt.
We introduced you to Kodiak, a highly trained arson dog. He can sniff out mere traces of fire starters.
Gasoline, diesel, lighter fluid.
Doing in minutes what could take humans hours.
It's a 365-day, 24/7 obligation.
Expect original reporting from KPIX 5 News. Expect more.
More than 800 houses of worship are sheltering illegal immigrants, daring federal agents to step through their stained glass doors. But will they? 60 Minutes, tonight.
Go to the ends of the earth.
This is exciting.
And reach for the stars.
Da, 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 da.
Hey, this is pretty fun.
Experience thought-provoking, innovative, and truly original reporting.
Stand back.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday morning.
Brian Hackney, KPIX 5 News.
Good morning and welcome back to Mosaic. I'm Rabbi Eric Weiss and honored to be your host. We're in the middle of a wonderful conversation about the ways that people get to know one another and move into areas of leadership. In this case, in Israel, we want to reintroduce you to Rabbi Ezra Ende, who is the rabbi of the Free Synagogue of Jerusalem, and Oshra Friedman, who works for an organization called Sebaka, which provides free legal services to Ethiopian Israelis. Welcome back, Rabbi Ezra Ende and Oshra.
Glad to be here.
Let's sort of talk a little bit about what your broader framework is. So what brings you to the San Francisco Bay Area? I know that there's a connection to the Jewish Community Federation of San Francisco, Marin, Sonoma, and the Peninsula. And so I'm wondering if you can just talk a little bit about that connection for us.
The program Gvanim is actually established by the San Francisco Federation in Israel. And this is the 13th group, cohort. And they are having the same programs here in San Francisco and actually all over, I think, United States, this kind of Gvanim, which is a little bit different from what we are having in Israel. So this is the connection. And I think one of the things that the Federation is actually trying to create is to take all the differences and the kinds of people in the Israeli society, put them together and asking really hard questions about our identity. How do you see the Israeli society? How do we see our future? Probably it's different from the discussion that the groups in the United States are having, although we have some common things.
And this is the 13th cohort, so it means the 13th year of the Federation's program with Gvanim in Israel. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of impact that you've seen that it's had in Israel? From what you see, I imagine that something about the impact is what attracted you to actually say that you'd like to be a part of the current cohort.
I believe that, this can really change lots of things, because normally people from different ends of society do not necessarily meet and are very detached from one another. I keep going back to the ultra-Orthodox point, but that's a very meaningful point, because in Israel, the ultra-Orthodox community is very separate than the rest of the people. And this bridge is a very important one, especially for me as a Reform rabbi. And so I really am very, very hopeful and very optimistic that we can really, work on projects together. We can bring people closer. I serve in a community in Jerusalem that is very diverse. And in this community, there's tension between the ultra-Orthodox residents and the other residents in the neighborhood. And I'm very, very hopeful that thanks to the relationships that I'm forming during this year, we can really bring people closer. We can have people talk to each other.
And can you talk a little bit about the two of you together? So you are two of a larger cohort.
Right.
But can you just give us a little bit of a sense, each of you, like where you come from, where your families come from, because you kind of illustrate in your own personhood what the diversity of Israeli society really is. So, Oshra.
I immigrated to Israel with my family when I was 7 from Ethiopia. I identified myself as a Jewish Israeli woman who have been born in Ethiopia but raised in Israel. I work a lot in the Ethiopian society for the past few years because I do believe that the community is actually struggling for equal rights, for having justice, especially when it comes to the community who are immigrants. But I also believe and very optimistic about how our society in Israel became very open-minded about everything, without judging. Even when I came to Gvanim, some of the participants, yes, they knew that there is Ethiopian Jewish in Israel. Yes, they see them over the TV and over the newspapers, not always in a good way. But for the first time to sit up together and see that we may think the same thing about, let's say, the Israel society or even our lives as parents, as children, as part of the country, and seeing in a different angle of the goodness of the community, which I think I feel the same way about other people too in the group. So I think if the program wanted to create this open-minded thing, it's really happening. It's really happening.
Wonderful. And in just a moment, we're going to take a break, but Rabbi, let us know a little bit about where you come from and your family.
So my father is American. He's from Brooklyn. He made Aliyah. He immigrated to Israel in '69. My mother immigrated to Israel from Iraq, and she came to Israel. They met there. And within me, I have a European side and a Sephardic side, a Middle Eastern side. And those are two very, very important sides of my personality, and I try to portray them in what I do.
And so I'm just curious to know, in your particular family, did you grow up speaking English and Hebrew and Arabic?
Mostly Hebrew. I think both my parents wanted to raise an Israeli kid that talks Hebrew. And that was really something that was very important for them, and that's why they immigrated to Israel.
Wonderful. Oshra, Rabbi, believe it or not, we need to say goodbye to the two of you. Thank you so much for being with us, and we're going to return in just a moment to Mosaic to continue this conversation about the ways we care for one another and form leadership into the next generation. Please join us in just one moment back here on Mosaic.
The Russian Black Sea Fleet, they're on a direct course for the Bulgarian coast.
To invade a NATO country.
If Russia takes Bulgaria, it'll be in Poland by Christmas.
We have to authorize force.
As always, the United States is quick to war.
This aggression is an act of war.
If NATO can't stand up to Russian aggression, then we'll do it ourselves.
I'm really scared.
During the month of May, we're asking everyone to show support for missing children and their families.
We know missing children's issues do not affect every household, but through Rock One Sock, everyone can show they care. Here's how.
Wear one sock and take a picture or a video.
Share it to social media with the hashtag #RockOneSock.
Then please donate to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to support our work to bring missing children home.
Challenge your friends to do the same.
Join us in Rock One Sock during the month of May.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
With CBS All Access, you can watch KPIX5 News live and watch CBS shows on demand across desktop, mobile, and streaming devices. Go to cbs.com/allaccess now to try it free.
Good morning and welcome back to Mosaic. I'm Rabbi Eric Weiss and honored to be your host. We're in the middle of a wonderful conversation that we're continuing about the ways in which we get to know one another and the ways in which we care for one another and how that influences the ways in which we look for leaders into the next generation. I'd like to introduce you to Sarah Persitz and also to Alex Rayter, who are board members of the Jewish Community Federation here in San Francisco, officially the Federation of San Francisco, Marin and Sonoma Counties, and the Peninsula. Welcome, Alex and Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
If we just use our time with the Gvanim folks as a little bit of a segue, can you talk a little bit about the ways in which you see Gvanim as an example in which our Jewish community has commitment to leadership development, really in our own community, but also in the state of Israel?
Sure. So I think Gvanim is representative of our Federation's overall mission and strategy for the way that we connect to Israel, the way that we invest in Israel, with the overarching goal being to inspire and help create a shared society. And as you heard in the previous conversations, Gvanim really is at the heart of that effort of bringing people together from across Israeli society, from different communities, from different religious backgrounds, from different heritages even, and bringing them together for a shared experience to understand themselves as Jews and as Israelis and as part of this larger mosaic that makes up Israeli society.
You know, the San Francisco Bay Area is so diverse in general, but certainly within the Jewish community, we are Jews of color, we are LGBT, we are Jews from various backgrounds, immigration backgrounds, many, many Russian Jews, many other folks, and certainly even in an American society way, there are lots of people in the Bay Area who come from other states in the country. And so I'm just wondering, in that broader context, how does the Federation think about leadership development among ourselves here in our community? Is that, can I turn to you, Alex, to kind of jump into that?
Yes, absolutely, Rabbi. Thank you. I think Federation as an agency that is a convener of people and services in our community understands the importance of bringing everybody into a big community tent, not having silos. Big word today in our community is engagement. Leadership is another big word. And I think engagement is something that wholly depends on leadership and leaders. So who engages the folks in the community to get involved? Who marshals the resources to create not only the Federation, but the other agencies it supports that have been around for so long, and all of the institutions and services that we all enjoy? So I think the Federation takes that broader perspective, and it really relies on, for example, with us, the next generation of leaders to come in to the fold and carry on the work that has been done before us, and also to make sure that we provide for the future, given the existential realities on the ground here and on the ground in Israel, for example. So both societies have challenges, and we need leaders to address them. And I think the Federation is doing a great job of addressing that.
And Sarah, can you talk about what you think leadership challenges are going to be into the next generation? We often talk about leadership development, about the lessons learned and the way a previous generation took leadership on with the issues that confronted itself in its time. But we all know that leadership isn't stagnant, and we always have to depend on what tomorrow brings. And so I'm wondering, from your perspective, what are some of the leadership challenges that are on the horizon that we're going to face and need to understand more seriously and meet need for?
It's a great question, and one that I think we ask ourselves on a regular basis within the organized Jewish community, which is why there's such an emphasis on next-gen engagement. And I think at the root of it is less of a challenge and more of an opportunity. And I think it actually speaks to what Alex was saying, and this idea of being open and creating an open community. And our biggest opportunity, and where I think the Federation is investing a lot of its work in this area of leadership development, is in building true, authentic communities, and not just creating spaces where people show up from perhaps a sense of duty or obligation. It used to be that if you were Jewish, then you were involved in the organized Jewish community. But given where we are in America today and the rate of assimilation and the fact that we are free citizens of this country and we can participate however we choose, it's not a given that we opt into the organized Jewish community. And what our Federation has realized is the importance of creating an open, authentic space for people like myself or my generation to come in and to express ourselves, to express our values in a way that is personally meaningful to us, and to be able to share that then with others as a way of connecting to something larger than ourselves, which I think is really at the core of the idea of community and leadership.
Sarah, Alex, we're going to take a quick break and come back to Mosaic in just a moment.
More than 800 houses of worship are sheltering illegal immigrants, daring federal agents to step through their stained glass doors. But will they? 60 Minutes tonight.
The Russian Black Sea Fleet, they're on a direct course for the Bulgarian coast.
To invade a NATO country. I'm really scared.
Exactly who she was, exactly how she died, the legacy she's left us, all questions answered. Finally, get to know the woman who showed the world power doesn't come from a crown. It comes from your heart. Princess Diana, her life, her death, the truth. Hosted by Gayle King, Monday.
I have a different relationship with the legacy of CBS News because my mom was a correspondent here, and the kind of news gathering that she was proud to have been a part of, that still gets talked about now. People talk about that legacy and try to fit what we do into that legacy. Our central job at Face the Nation is to sift and sort. Hopefully, by the time people get to us on Sunday, we may be able to put it in context to help them understand it and give them a fuller picture of things.
America's #1 public affairs program, Face the Nation, Sundays.
Monday in prime time. Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Don't miss James Corden's new Carpool Karaoke special. Plus, an all-new Carpool Karaoke with Katy Perry, a special appearance by Jennifer Lopez, and James Corden's favorite moments. The Late Late Show's Carpool Karaoke primetime special. Monday at 10/9 Central on CBS.
Juliette Goodrich, KPIX 5 News.
Good morning and welcome back to Mosaic. I'm Rabbi Eric Weiss and honored to be your host. We're in the middle of a wonderful conversation about leadership development here in the Jewish community. I'd like to welcome back Sarah Persitz and also Alex Rayter, board members of the Jewish Community Federation of San Francisco, Marin and Sonoma Counties, and the Peninsula. Welcome back, Sarah and Alex. We were talking about leadership development and the ways in which people feel engaged and entering into authentic spaces and relationship, and also ways in which then people feel cared for and known. And I'm wondering if you can talk in a little bit of a personal way about the effect that your involvement with the Jewish Community Federation has had on you in terms of feeling that you are part of something important, as you were saying, Sarah, something that's beyond yourself. So why don't we start with you, Sarah?
Sure. Being a part of the Jewish Community Federation has been a multifaceted experience, and I think that's part of the beauty of the organization, because anyone may find a certain entry point where you start to get involved, and for me it was actually through women's philanthropy and the young adult division. But by my involvement in those two groups, not only did I get to know different people from the community, also in an intergenerational way, which I think is tremendously valuable in terms of learning about the kinds of leadership and engagement models that came before us. But through my involvement in each of those groups, I was able to meet other members, representatives of our community, people who serve in wonderful leadership positions, who have taken the time to mentor me to share their stories and their experiences, but also to hear about my story and who I am and what inspires me to be at the table. And I think that through those conversations, those shared engagement opportunities, those shared experiences, that not only do we learn about the whole of our community, but for me, I also continue to learn more about myself and who I am and how I identify as a Jewish American.
Wonderful. And Alex, we have just a little bit of time, but it's a big question, but what about you?
Well, my own trajectory was such that coming from the former Soviet Union, immigrating here in '87 with my family, we came from a place where we were limited in our ability to explore and express our Judaism. When I came here, I was fortunate that I had a bar mitzvah and attended Hebrew school, but later became disconnected from the community because I just didn't find an entry point, as Sarah mentioned. And I was fortunate to go on a trip to Israel, sponsored by Federation. The great thing that they did, speaking on leadership, is that they said, if you go on this trip, you have to come back and get involved. And there's a whole tapestry of things you can do, but you have to get involved. And so I took them up on that offer and was sort of ushered and courted and taken along to various opportunities to get involved. I met a lot of fascinating people, and I now am able to participate in such a rich community with all of the resources and services and all the wonderful folks I've met, where I truly have a sense of the way I want to live my life as a Jew, with the kind of community I want to pass on to my children. And yeah, and I think
so wonderful.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, we need to sort of put a comma in the conversation. We've come to the end of our time together. Alex and Sarah, thank you so much together. And we want to ask you, please take the risk and a leap of faith to get to know somebody and get to know what it is to care and get to know your community. Thank you so much for being with us here on Mosaic.